Good afternoon, good evening, or good day to whenever y'all are listening. Welcome back to Note to Self. This is our second episode, and we're here for round two. Yep, none of us left. We're still here. But we're just since this is our second episode. For any new listeners, we're just gonna go around the room really quick and introduce ourselves. I'm today's lead, Jonathan Takanwewe. I am a third year student here at Aloni. I'm majoring in English, potentially minoring in Chicano studies, and will be transferring out this year.
Right. I'm Jacqueline Chen. I am a second year business student here at Aloni. Still really interested in psychology, so maybe I'll double major. But I'm looking to transfer this year into one of my dream colleges.
Hi, my name is Diana. I'm an art major. This is my second year at Aloni and my first year as a student wellness ambassador.
Hi, my name is Anye. This is my second year at Aloni. I plan to transfer next spring. I major in sociology.
And then I forgot to mention, this is also my first year as a student wellness ambassador. Jacqueline's you.
We're all first year student wellness ambassadors, guys.
Just to throw it out there for everyone to know, you know? See if there's any seasoned veterans coming back. But yeah, quick check-in. How's everyone doing? How we're all feeling?
Good.
Good?
I'm good.
You good?
I just ate, so I'm
That's
ready
good.
to go.
I know. We all just finished eating. We're all pretty good. Hopefully, no one goes into a sleep coma. You just see it
It'll
pass
be
out.
me.
If you're watching this on YouTube, that'd be kind of funny. And if you're on Spotify, just imagine one of us just sleeping on the couch, holding the plushie, or with the blanket.
I mean, we're all pretty excited, so we might get a little chatty today, guys, but you're in for a ride.
Yes, you are. But for today's topic, we are going to be tackling cultural stigma. So our first episode was back to school, and we briefly mentioned a little bit of things, like whether that's with education, kind of being first gen, or even like people of color. But today we thought it'd be great to kind of focus and prioritize that. We know a lot of the student body here at Aloni, they work jobs, they're coming from families that may need extra support, or education is like they are coming from, as in their parents already did it, they're second gen, or it's something that's entirely new to them, first generation students. And we just kind of, as well as like mental health related stuff as well. So we're going to be connecting things like education, mental health resources, stuff like that, and hopefully get have this be a productive discussion amongst families, amongst students, and amongst the whole community as a whole. But yeah, anyone's plans for the weekend before we get into it?
Work.
I guess
Work.
something, I would say work, but actually something interesting. Last night my mom was just like, oh, actually, because there's like a cultural festival going on, like it's the Mid-Autumn Festival around this, well, maybe when you guys are listening, a couple weeks ago. But yeah, so she was like, we need some last minute performances. Can you come and sing a couple songs? I'm like, say what now? In my second language? Okay, I guess I need to double down and practice for that all night tonight, so that I could perform well tomorrow. But yeah, I think that's gonna be the highlight of my weekend, and then just polishing off all my Sunday assignments.
So true. So true. And then I'm gonna be going to visit Davis, because since tag apps are due end of September, I gotta get a tour in real quick. See, that's where I want to go. But yeah,
That's exciting.
it is. It's very exciting. So before we get into our discussion, we are going to define what stigma is. So the definition we're using for stigma is provided by the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, and they define stigma as a defined set of negative and often unfair beliefs that a society or just a group of people have about something. This is a concept that is entirely based on societal perception, and it's very difficult to change, especially within a lot of cultures. For us, what we describe stigma as, or how would we define it? I know for me, I would kind of describe it as the perceived notion or the perceptions of like a culture against something. So that can be related to like mental illness, that can be related to education, maybe even other cultures as well. And it tends to be like very negative, very looked down upon as well.
Yeah, I would probably describe stigma as something that is constantly happening inside somebody's culture and they expect it to keep happening. And I think it's something that it's like a norm, basically, and you're basically expected to act that way because of it. So that's what I would describe it as.
I would say that stigma is a word that is used to describe any like negative connotation towards any group or any part of someone's like identity or those kinds of things. And I'd say that oftentimes it can be used both like, how do I put it? There's sometimes people have these misconceptions that are like supposed to be like positive about a group, but they're actually a little like restrictive or things like that, or like, how do I put it? Like sometimes people would say, "Oh, Asians are all like super good at math," and I'm just like, as someone who's not good at math, I'm just like, guys, it's not like that. And I'd say that's something that it probably creates like internal conflict with like someone when they don't follow some sort of like stigmas or like
look at a societal norm.
Yeah, or societal norms.
Yeah. Thank you for everyone's definitions. Wait, Dan, did you go?
100%. I mean, you guys kind of, yeah.
Okay.
And one of the main focuses for today's episode is mental health and mental illnesses. We do want to clarify that when we do refer to mental illnesses, we aren't talking about severe cases such as psychosis, but we're also referring to things such as like ADHD, depression, or things like that as well. Mental illness within a lot of communities of colors and just society as a whole is something that's been very stigmatized and stereotyped, especially within Western media and perceptions. And we hope that we can help address these things and open everyone's eyes in terms of how mental illness truly is something that can be tackled and it's not something to be ashamed of or should be looked down upon.
I would also note that when it comes to like mental, like like for those going through mental illness or like struggles like mentally, oftentimes your general population will experience them as well, but like they have like good support groups, or it's only a momentary passing of those emotions or thoughts or feelings that occur due to like certain changes in our lives. So I'd say that some of these things might be relatable even if like you haven't gone through like a severe mental struggle or challenge, but so hopefully that even if like it's not completely specific to you, there are things that you can take away from this as well.
Yeah. And I think one thing that's been brought up a lot is like mental illness within cultures, or cultures has been a big theme of our discussion. I know as a man of color, I am Mexican Peruvian, so I identify as Latino. A lot of Latino media tends to stereotype or put this notion that if you're mentally ill, it is always those severe cases of psychosis. So someone has schizophrenia, or they're seeing things, hearing voices, or they're just crazy. They're just doing a lot of crazy things. Like they're yelling, bipolar disorder. It's a lot of like things like that I tend to see. But I'm going to be open. I was depressed for a little while. I did have suicidal thoughts at some points, but I was very good at hiding it. I would come into class and I would come into like all these things and I was smiling, I was checking in with everyone. I was just like making sure everything's okay. I was still doing work, which is funny enough. I was still accomplishing and doing all these things, but within the back of my mind, I was like, I'm just tired. I really am. I just don't want to keep doing this. There's a lot of stuff that was going on, like personal issues as well, like family and other individuals in my life, that I was just feeling very emotionally and just like my overall energy was drained. And I want to talk about this because this completely deviates, even though I don't like saying this word, it deviates from what the perceived notion is of mental illness within the Latino community. Because here I am, still a functioning member of society, but I didn't want to be here. But thankfully, I decided to step up and kind of reach for support, noticing that, this wasn't who I am. I was going through photos and like looking at old like videos, and I was like, dang, like what actually happened? How can I go back to this? And I just reached out for help at the health center, and I took my first therapy. I also got a lot of help from one of my counselors here that really pushed me to go talk to someone, and that really was like a life-changing experience. I think just like being here and just talking to someone, having someone understand me was, really important in that journey of self-growth and discovery of who I was as an individual, and that I still wanted to be here as well.
I think kind of relating to that as well, as someone who is a daughter of immigrants, it's definitely something that is almost like seen as taboo, not really talked about, not really like, not mentioned at all. I know like growing up I also had suicidal thoughts. I was going through a lot in my own little world. And it's crazy to think back and like telling my mom I want to kill myself. Like it was hard, and her kind of just brushing it off and being like, you don't know what you're talking about, and kind of just like left me to it basically. And now seeing the difference that I kind of made on her, because I would continue to like talk to her about my feelings and like what's going on in my life. So that kind of like, I guess in a way taught her to be more open about communicating about our feelings and like what's going on in our lives, because she didn't have that growing up, and so she was kind of bringing that into, I guess, like, what's the word? Kind of like bringing that into her
Lifestyle.
like
Mindset.
what's the word?
I mean, it's just like a real big like
generational
shift.
thing,
The
almost, where like, oh, because she didn't have this, now I won't have it. But I was like, heck no, I am not living like this. And I kind of told her, I was like, hey, like, we all go through things, and it's important to like talk to each other about it, because it's like we never know what someone can actually be going through, and it's like knowing what we're going through like helps us more, instead of like just pushing each other, I guess, if that makes sense. But yeah.
And I like that you brought that up, that your mom kind of like ignored or didn't acknowledge those feelings, because the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, did report that a lot of, especially students, they tend to say that the reason they don't go out for treatment, or it was very hard for them to get treatment, was because there were a lot of feelings of shame. They felt very reluctant to seek treatment because they thought nobody was going to understand them. They were feeling very hopeless and very helpless, and they just wanted to withdraw from the world, as well as lower self-esteem, which did not help them at all in feeling like confident in themselves or their self-worth and their self-value. And those are some things that we really want our students to feel, because every life, every individual does matter, especially in an environment like this, because we do want to take care of y'all, and we do value everyone's input and your overall being here.
And I guess I can also bring up something next. I'd say because a lot of students face like mental health issues rather early in life, just because we're trying to learn to juggle like school, maybe
navigate
like
all these things.
as well as like family relationships, friendships, all sorts of relationships and changes in your life. Sometimes a sudden life changes will happen, and it can be a lot, And I'd also say that when it comes to reaching out for help, sometimes I know for myself, it's like when you start to have these issues, you realize that something isn't right, but sometimes you might not be very well informed or clear about what you're going through specifically as a mental health challenge. But you would know that there is something wrong. And also, like, when you go in for, like, typically for, like, children growing up, they will always give you these mental health surveys. And I can say that when I was going through something, maybe in middle school, I probably lied on those surveys just because my mom was looking over my shoulder, and I didn't want to make her worry about some of the things I was going through, because it was like I would brush it off, or oftentimes I wouldn't acknowledge my feelings, and because they would pass. But there were definitely, like, I wish I had reached out for help back then about, like, learning to manage my emotions in a healthier way or addressing them, because I guess back then, because I didn't know how to handle it or didn't have a, like, support group, or it felt burdensome to, like, trouble someone else with my own problems, because everybody has their own share of issues that they struggle and grapple with. I would just bottle them up and then keep them inside myself, and they went unspoken about and untouched for a long time. So I'd say that, like everyone else was saying, like, after you start talking about these things, they will be difficult conversations. Bringing them up will definitely be difficult conversations, but it is definitely something important that you need to do. And, like, the first couple of times it might be hard to talk to those that don't have, like, this kind of background, like you were saying, with the generational like differences, but eventually they will come to understand you, because most of the time they still care, and it just takes them a while to adapt. Because at some point my dad was like, wait, maybe I have this problem too. I'm like, yes, you do, because I'm very like you too. And it's just like educating and just acknowledging these things will, like, make it so that you can have these conversations and open up about a lot of these things. Do you like to go on, Ye?
Sorry for issuing, but before we do continue further, I would like to highlight our crisis hotlines. So, considering this is a very heavy topic, and just you'll be hearing this throughout the session, but if you or anyone you know is going through an episode, is going through a crisis, or if you're just not feeling yourself, or you just want to talk about something, please reach out to any of the crisis hotlines that we will be listing out. If you feel more comfortable texting, text Courage to 741-741. The National Crisis Hotline is 988. And I do not have the Alameda County Crisis Hotline with me right now. But if someone can please just bring it up, we'll make sure to include it later in the session. But again, if you or anyone you know is going through a crisis, just want to talk about something, we highly encourage y'all to do so. Suicide, self-harm, these are very serious topics, and as someone who has, done self-harm as well, it's something that no individual should experience in. It's something that for sure stems from a lot of stigma, stems from a lot of people not understanding us, but there are people who understand us, and there are people who care for us. I think, those resources are out. Those resources are not even. I think those resources are out there, and we highly encourage y'all to take advantage of it. Your life matters, your being matters, and we value you being here and listening with us as well. Yeah. And pivot back to you, Anya. What would you like to add on to our conversation?
Okay, so for me, growing up as an African American female, mental health is definitely not something that my family and I talk about at all. So I grew up, like, not even knowing what therapy was. I didn't really get into mental health until I was probably about, like, in middle school going to high school. And that's kind of what made me choose what I want to do in my life, which is be like a counselor basically, because like I realize like there's so many people out there that don't even know like what mental health is, and I feel like it's like something that definitely needs to be highlighted, especially in my community, because like I just never like it was never a topic in my family, and I really want to change that. um it's definitely been times where like, you know, my mental health has gotten so bad to the point where I needed to talk to someone, but I still have yet to utilize that, and I'm so upset with myself because I'm the main one talking about it, but I don't even get it myself. And I feel like it's very important too, because like there's like is there's been times where like you don't feel like yourself, like you just feel like you're out of your body, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I need help. But I would say for me that definitely breaking the generational curse of getting help is definitely one of my main top priorities right now, because I want for the future generation to normalize talking about mental health and making this be a normal discussion, because there has been countless of times where I personally don't like talking about my feelings, but I'm trying to break out of that, especially now that I'm like going down the career path I'm going in. I want to like make sure like this conversation is normal and it's comfortable for people who feel like it's not. So, for me, I would definitely say that breaking the stigma around mental health is very important, and I feel like if we continue doing what we're doing, continue doing this, we can definitely like make that happen for sure.
We know we're gonna make it happen.
Yeah.
This is a very passionate team, and we all appreciate you sharing with us, all of y'all. We appreciate you just feeling comfortable in this space, and you're gonna get there. You're doing your best. You might not acknowledge it, but we all do.
And like Anya was saying earlier, like I have a bad habit, right? And I'm working on it. We can all work on it and grow into becoming the best version of ourselves that we want to be. So earlier, like everyone else was, since everybody else was sharing like some of the struggles they went through, I didn't go into specifics earlier, I guess. I was also very depressed, and I had some suicidal thoughts at some points, and I'd say it's really hard to admit that too. So it does take courage to talk about these things, because you're putting yourself in a vulnerable position. And like for myself, I don't like sharing about that sometimes because it's a lot, and definitely it does require some trust, and like this is a safe space, and then being able to have these conversations and create safe spaces where we can talk about these situations is something that we're all working to create, and we hope that we will be able to help you guys open up about some of the issues that you guys face as well.
Yeah. And I like one thing that you brought up earlier that kind of relates to our next topic, but why? Why are a lot of students not getting these resources, or why are a lot of students experiencing cultural stigma? And I love that example you used of your mom looking over your shoulder while you're filling out the form, because I know for me that's something I've experienced as well, and I've done as well. I just will fill out the form and say, check, yeah, I'm good, no X marks here. Yeah. And then my mom will ask me, oh, you're not feeling this or that, you're not feeling depressed or anything? And I was like, nah, I'm good, everything checks out, doctor, let me go early, let's go. But a lot of that stems down to cultural stigma. It comes down to how a lot of our cultures just view mental health. Whether that's how Anya said that's something that's very Anya said that's something not talked about. Diana, that is very taboo. There's a lot of factors, and then education about it is a really big one as well. Here at Step Up, we always try to have tabling sessions and events where we address and try to bring a lot of more information out there and encourage students to come and take advantage of this, free resource. I know for me, it took a while to start learning more about it. It wasn't until I was in crisis that I went to therapy that I started becoming more well informed. You know, I would listen to the classroom presentations, but it was during those moments that I talked about it with my therapist. I was like, wow, there's more to this than just, you know, suicide and depression, like ADHD and other things that also get stigmatized. Oh my God, I can't even go on. I can go on forever for the ADHD conversation, but, you know, I'm going to give a space for y'all and hear what y'all think about the whys as to what is making it difficult for students to reach out.
I think kind of like what I mentioned before, it's definitely like the generational, like, I guess, trauma. I don't know exactly like how to put it in, but it's just like something that isn't brought up regularly, and because of that, it's like, okay, I can't, like, my parents didn't talk to me about this, so it's kind of like I feel uncomfortable, or I'm scared if I bring it up. So I definitely think that that's why people, like, keep to themselves. And that's why I would keep to myself. I'd be like, okay, like, my mom already told me that, like, she didn't get this growing up. She didn't talk to her parents growing up about her own personal feelings. And that's why she feels like she doesn't even know how to react or what to say. And I mean, I told her, I'm like, it's okay. Like, you know, you don't have to say anything. I just need someone to, like, be there to listen to me, and, like, that just shows that you're there and that you care. And that's what we're here for as well, to, like, listen to you guys and be there for you. But I definitely think that that's one of the main reasons why people don't really, like, reach out to others, because it's like they don't know how to.
I definitely agree with Diana, though. I feel like it also has something to do with how you were raised as well. My parents, their parents didn't teach them about getting help or going to therapy or getting any mental help, so they didn't really push that upon me. I kind of had to just learn it and navigate it myself. And it's also really, like, it's also really scary, too. Like, for me, I'm like terrified to talk about my feelings. Like, I don't even want to get into, like, the root of that. It's just so terrifying, especially when it's someone, like, you're talking to someone, they don't know you and you don't know them either. So it's like you're putting all your business out on the table, and it's like, wow. And you, like, telling a person, telling this to people you've never even told anybody else, it's like it's very scary, and it's very, like, it's so emotional as well, that some students, I feel like, they just don't want to get into that, especially when they're already dealing with a lot. It's just really hard to talk about it.
I like that you brought up defense mechanisms, because I know, you know, for a lot of students or just a lot of people in general, like, we have a defense mechanism set up because of our generational trauma that we had. And I know for me, one of them is, like, I laugh. I remember during my first session, I was, like, giggling. I was like, yeah, I wanted to do this to myself. I did this to myself. Haha.
Yeah.
And because it is intimidating. It gets awkward, especially in environments where it is just very much looked down upon.
Okay. I guess things that I felt were definitely a barrier is, like, sometimes you want to start talking about some of the issues you face, but, like you guys were saying, like, we don't even understand sometimes how to process these emotions, or, like, it's hard to give them a name because they're so tangled. They're so tangled with so many parts of our identity that we don't even know where to start. I guess part of that is, like, asking for help, like, even if it's not for, like, mental health, just asking for help in general can be difficult. So definitely something where it's about yourself, talking about yourself and opening up about things that are just really hard to start talking about, and then they just, like, go super deep into who you are as a person. It's really daunting. And I can definitely say that it's also just, like, I'd say positions in your role as a person. I'd say that for myself, there's a lot of, like, stress and pressure to succeed. And I'd say that in a lot of cultures, how do I put it? Looking for help with, at least on the mental health side, is something that's looked down upon, or at least my parents were scared that it would be something that would be like on a permanent record somewhere. But these things are like confidential, so that's not necessarily the case, and it's based off of whether or not you want to disclose, because it's confidential and it's between you and your healthcare professional or those that you talk to about these things. So honestly, that shouldn't be a concern. But of course, because generational differences or cultural differences, naturally it's like a very big unknown world for some cultures, because we don't really have that in our culture. Or I'd say that in Asian culture, it's more community based and not individualistic. So some of these things, like talking about yourself or being self-centric, is conceptually different, I'd say, in like community based cultures. So it's like you put the community first, or the group first, group mentality versus individual mentality. And I know that a lot of cultures are like this and can possibly relate to this in some senses. So I'd say that for myself, I was supposed to like support the family, and like being not okay was something that was concerning, at least to myself, or something I wasn't comfortable admitting. Or it's just a lot. I think it's just not knowing is scary, and it's something I didn't even know where to like start approaching. And how do I put it? It's also, I think, a really big part of me growing up was like, I want to see if anyone can notice that I'm not okay. But I got away with it, and I just, there was never that person that I could talk to about it, and it was really hard. Like, for me to be able to talk with you guys about these topics, it probably took maybe 2 to 3 years to build this up, to like feel comfortable sharing. And like through like small activities, and then starting to talk about these things more, and like trying to change a mindset is really difficult. And understanding that, how do I put it, there are people out there that care and that they want to support you. And definitely there's a lot of things that go into barriers, for sure. And that's just like, we touched on some of them, and there's definitely a lot more that you guys might experience out there as well.
And I appreciate that response, because a report from NAMI, and I just condensed it to like some of our very prevalent or underlooked communities here at Ohlone. About 1 in 5 U.S. adults experience a form of mental illness each year. And about 21% of Latina adults, about 21% of Black adults, and 50% of LGBTQ identifying folks have also reported experienced a form of mental illness. And this number could probably even be higher, because a lot of it does go undiagnosed or untreated. These rates are specifically higher in particular cultures as well, where, like Jacqueline was saying, it's very taboo to bring it up. You just sometimes want to be acknowledged, but they don't want to acknowledge it, at least the people in your culture, and older generations as well. I really like that we were talking on older generations, like whether that's because of societal norms or their own cultural norms. Like, they didn't take care of themselves, and they're kind of pushing that norm onto the younger ones, because that's what they experience. That's what's normal to them. That's how you take care of yourself. But I very much appreciate, and I love seeing that we are getting these conversations started. Hopefully, listeners and viewers, that this might encourage y'all to also get these conversations started, because we are not our caretakers. We're not our parents. We're not our grandparents, whoever that parental figure is in our life, older or about our age. We're not them. We are our own individuals with our own choices and our own lives, and we have the decision whether or not, if taking care of ourselves is something we want to do. And then hopefully hearing our stories, it is something that you at least think about, consider, gets the cogs running in your brain. And our crisis hotlines are out there. I'm not sure if someone was able to get the Alameda County one.
I can't find it.
But this kind of goes into things like within school as well. I know we didn't get the opportunity to really talk about it as much, but in education, that's a whole different ball game. You know, you have gender norms, you have societal norms. At least in Latino culture, I know for me, it's like, oh no, you just go to blue collar work. That's all you're supposed to do. You don't show your emotions. You don't do any of that. But here I am. I'm a leader in a mental health program. I'm going to become an educator. I'm surrounded with other people who are just like me, and they just want to do a lot of work.
Yeah. I guess similar to what Jonathan was saying, there's a lot of like expectations, societal expectations, be it from your culture or what you think society as a whole expects of you, or like what your family expects of you. There are a lot of expectations put on yourself, but it's also being aware that like the ones that matter the most are the people that care about you, and also I guess what you want for yourself and what you want, and prioritizing with expectations you want to hold and follow through with, I guess. And for myself, I'd say that a lot of the time, like when I got to applying for colleges in high school, I took a step back and I said, what is it exactly that I really want? Because I feel like I was shaped by what society expected me to become. Like, I don't know if you guys have your own like societal like expectations, but at least in some of the older generations have this this expectation or notion in my culture that like either they want you to be really wealthy, go into professions that are like really stable, like those, I'm gonna say which ones those are. It'd be law, it would be engineering or like comp sci, and also I think medicine, because like being a doctor is like something that people really think positively of.
Something that they value.
They value it too, and that's why there's like it pushed towards it. And I think I grew up thinking like, oh, I can go into law, and then like having people like support me in that direction. And then I took a step back and I was like, but is this really what I want to do? Is this really something, like I took a step back and I realized that I've been shaped so much by my environment, and how much is actually me and how much is actually what other people want of me. So definitely I'd say that these expectations are definitely something that we grapple with, because we're all trying to navigate and figure out like what we want out of life. So I don't even know where this is going anymore, guys. But it's definitely something that I think we've all experienced in some ways, be it like cultural or like family, or like things that you think society as a whole expects of you, or I don't know, like for my gender, they expect me to be more feminine, or like wear makeup, learn to do certain things. But I'm working towards it, but like at my own pace and at my own needs. And I'd say a lot of the battle is my own expectation of myself. I'd say half of my mental battles are all like in my own head. Like no one else is like actually physically like forcing these onto me, but like I'm forced like taking all of these expectations and forcing them upon myself, I guess, in a way. So I'd say that if I can beat all of my own mental battles, I can do whatever I want. Oh my god.
Kind of going like based off of what you mentioned, it's like, for example, for myself as a Latina woman, it's like, oh, you have to be a housewife, and like, oh, like in the kitchen and like this and that. And it's like, it's something funny because it's like, I'm gonna out myself. In a past relationship, like my mom was like, oh, les sírvele el plato, like, you know, like serve their dish. And I was like, for a man, no. I was like, he got his own hands. So it's kind of like things like that are kind of like pushed onto you, that are like, this is like what we do in our culture, and it has to be put on you as well. And it's like, heck no, like I want to be my own self. I want to be my own person. And it's like, sure, I might have like some things like in the background where I'm like, okay, yeah, sure, I'll follow this or maybe that. But then there's other things where I'm just like, No. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be, like, my own woman. Like, I don't have to, be the housewife and, like, this and that. Like, I can have a career that I want to, like, work in. And, like, still be a working person at home if I do happen to have that future. But, it's like, I want to build my own storyline and not something that was, like, already built for me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like it's like so much stuff that that like we're expected to do as coming up in the generation. I know for me, like, it's not really typical for me to go to college. Usually, like, once you get your diploma in high school, you automatically got to go into work. Like, college doesn't exist. And I'm like, like, I'm gonna go to college and I'm gonna get my degree because I just I just want to break those cycles. I want to show my family that there's more than just like automatically you work, retire, you're done. Like, there's so much more. Like, going to college, graduating, like, that's a huge accomplishment. And it's just like, I want to also like teach like my kids that you don't gotta go, like, there's different paths that you can take. There's not one path that you necessarily have to follow. Like, it's your life, your decision. If you want to go to college, get a degree, do that. If you don't want to go to college, that's okay too. But hey, just do whatever that makes you happy. Don't do something just because, like, we're raised into it or we're like born into it. Like, do whatever makes you happy.
Yeah, there is no yellow brick road for anything.
Yeah.
We all have our own different paths, and we all, have the opportunity to explore and develop and find ourselves. And I know we weren't able to touch onto it as much as we'd like to, but to any of our queer listeners tuning in as well, we just want to verbally acknowledge and invalidate your experiences. I know we didn't get a great enough chance to talk about it, but we have a very diverse set of voices here on the podcast. And, it's just a whole different ballgame just hiding or closeting that one aspect of your identity, something that you shouldn't feel judged for, shouldn't feel afraid to showcase. But all this cultural stigma and societal stigmas surrounding it, I identify as like a straight cisgender man. I know, like, basic stuff, but it's difficult. I can't imagine how difficult it is. And here on the podcast, we just want to acknowledge that. We want to acknowledge the things one has to navigate as part of the LGBTQ plus IA community. And we want to recognize your strength and your resilience as well. Anyone else want to add anything really quick?
I was so absorbed. I had something, and then it flew because it flew out of my mind because I was listening to you really attentively because everything you said was really important. And yeah.
I think overall it's just, like, important to just be your own person and, like, not let, like, your parents' storyline be your storyline. Or, like,
Your culture
just
storyline.
you are your main character.
Yeah.
Like, it's your story. So don't let anything be like, oh, like, this happened to them, let it be, like, what happens to me. Like, no. Like, do your own.
Yeah. Adding on to that, I think we wanted to also express that everyone has, like, their own path because we're all, what makes us human is how unique we are. So naturally that means that there is no cookie cutter perfect ideal path that you can walk down. Oftentimes we take a step back to move two forward, or it's a winding road, but, like, that's why you should just embrace it and just do the things that you want to do, because honestly there's no correct answer and there's no, like, the fine line between, like, right and wrong. There's, like, the world is full of gray. So, like, honestly you should just do everything that you want to do because there's no right answer, there's no clear path. And how else do I put it? Like, I feel like a lot of pressure was put on me when I was like, oh, I have to support my family. I have to get through college, like, get, like, a good job and, like, be able to, like, support, like, the people around me. But, like, I felt forced to do that. And honestly, if I took my own time, I could do even better. And there's no rush. And then we're all individuals going at our own pace. And I think I wanted to add that mental health in itself is also really unique because it's like each person is different, our experiences are different, and the way we approach things are different because of our environment, our experiences, our backgrounds, be it culture, religion, just about anything, like our identity, be it like sexual orientation, gender identity, like all of these things, like everyone's so unique, and that's why you should just like prioritize things that you want in your life, because what others might think is best for you may not be the best for you.
Yeah.
And as different as we may be, what brings us together is that we care about everyone in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's like the most valuable thing, is that like we care and we love.
Mm-hmm.
Anything to add on you?
They basically covered everything. Just remember that your parents don't define you. It's everything is up to you. It's your life. At the end of the day, you're the person who's gonna live your life, not them. So just remember that. Remember, do whatever makes you happy. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then, again, just another plug for our crisis hotlines. If you or anyone else is experiencing something, or maybe after this episode you feel encouraged to, reach out and just have a very productive conversation with an operator. If texting is more comfortable, text COURAGE to 741-741. The National Crisis Hotline is 988. Anya, do you have the Alameda County?
Yep. The Alameda Crisis Line is 1-800-309-2131. And they also have a text line as well. If you text SAFE to 20121, they would be open 24/7.
Yeah. And if y'all can leave something here today, I really hope you feel encouraged just to reach out, and us with our experiences and the things that we made ourselves vulnerable with, you don't feel alone in whatever it is that you're going through. And again, I know we didn't get to really acknowledge a lot of, other identities or other aspects of when it comes to like education or other, things with cultural stigma, but who knows, maybe we might have a part 2. This episode does numbers, because I know we're all very passionate about this one. Mm-hmm. But yes, thank you all for being here. Thank you, listener, for being here, sticking through this one with us. We value you as an individual, as a human being, and keep believing in yourself, because we believe in you. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. This is the end of Nuts to Self. Have a good day, evening, morning, whatever it is.
Good times, though,
Bye.
guys. Bye.
Next time.